This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Welcome, one and all. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. There is some breaking news that I've got to actually pivot from what I wanted to talk about because I need to bring you up to speed on this story that is happening. There is a concerted effort happening today to push Mark Robinson out of the race for governor in North Carolina because of a damaging story that they believe is going to come out. Now, there are a number of damaging stories about Mark Robinson, and I've got to just say something up front. Mark Robinson has been an intriguing person because of his culture war stances, and I played some of his speeches on radio. But I have remained a little bit suspicious about him in large part because of this massive embrace from a bunch of people who have just always had a history of terribly vetting candidates. It's that when the base of the party wants their ears tickled, along comes guys who do it, and they tend to go with them, and they don't pay attention to the background. Mark Robinson has had a number of problems in the past, as has his wife, including bounced checks to the Girl Scouts for cookies, among other things. There's just a guy whose wife was dying with cancer. They've got a history of bounced checks, convictions for bounced checks. Their nonprofit got shut down. It was fined by North Carolina $132,000. All sorts of shady business practices, but Donald Trump endorsed him early on because he said all the things, got all the people riled up with culture war stuff, and there were people, including former Congressman Mark Walker, who were saying, wait a second, guys, there are lots of skeletons in the closet here you need to worry about. Well, everyone ignored that sort of stuff. And now it's come out. There's been one story about he spent a lot of time in a adult store watching pornography. That's one story. Another story is he has quoted or cited Hitler. That's the other story. And now I am told what is coming is a financial scandal. I'm not sure if that's true. That's just what I'm being told, a financial scandal. But the Republicans are today in a mad, furious dash to get Mark Robinson to get out of the race today. It is his last day to withdraw as a candidate because a story they believe is coming soon that will be devastating, and he's already 10 points down. Here's the problem. Trump endorsed the guy. That shut everyone else out of the race. It's like Roy Moore over in Alabama. Whether you believe Roy Moore was the victim of a smear campaign or not, and I have some friends who do, the moment the allegations started coming out about Roy Moore's creepy, pervy behavior, of course, the media was going to pounce. And you know what happened? A Democrat got elected to the United States Senate in Alabama. Here's why. And this, again, is the thing. I need to put this very bluntly to all of you. This is going to be insulting. I don't mean to be insulting with this. I really don't, because I am an evangelical Christian. But evangelical Christians seem to have just abandoned their discernment. And when they find someone who sounds like them and says the things that they believe, they don't care about the baggage. They don't care about the allegations or the rumors. They circle the wagon and say, he's one of us. God wills him to this position. They did this with Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson gave a lot of speeches that as an evangelical culture warrior, I loved, about the transgender issues and marriage and things like that. And man, I played his audio on the radio show. But along came a lot of people in North Carolina who said, hey, don't be distracted by his words. Look at the record. He and his wife got sued by the Girl Scouts for bouncing checks for cookies, for God's sakes. A lot of other check issues, nonprofit issues, financial issues. There's a lot of baggage there. And a lot of evangelicals say, no, he's one of us. God will protect him. God will manifest a wall of angels around him and protect him. Same thing happened with Roy Moore in Alabama. Roy Moore was our guy. He was the evangelical's choice. The Christians loved him. He fought for traditional marriage. He fought against trans rights. He's our guy. Well, along comes all the scandals. And what happened? The evangelicals in Alabama, they circled the wagons around him. They said, no, he's our guy. These are all lies. These are all lies. These are all lies. La, 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 we're not going to listen. Blah, 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 we're not going to listen. And what happened to Roy Moore? Doug Jones got elected to the United States Senate because the evangelicals decided God's will is Roy Moore. He will surround him with an army of angels, just like Elisha, and that'll get him over the finish line. Angels are not American citizens and do not get to vote in the election. You know who do? Independent voters who decide elections, and they were put off by the scandal, and they voted for a Democrat in Alabama, and all those independent voters, don't call them libs because they were happy to vote for every other Republican. But the evangelicals, my gosh, you say Jesus with 5 syllables and they get your vote. Jesus! Oh, he's one of us. He said it the right way. And y'all, look, these are my people. The amount of times I get told, stop talking about Jesus on the radio from people. These are my people. I know them. But they get combative and defensive for anyone who can say Jesus with 5 syllables. And if you can, you're clearly one of us. You love babies and Jesus, and you hate gay marriage. You must be elected to office. God will manifest your victory. And they turn out to be charlatans. They turn out to be frauds. They turn out to have skeletons in their closet. They turn out to have baggage you didn't know about because you didn't vet them, because you knew if they're that committed to Jesus, they can't have sins in their closet. They can't be creepy, pervy dudes who like to hit on young girls. They can't be shysters who ran fundraising schemes, because they can say Jesus with the proper pronunciation of 5 syllables, and they love babies, and they can quote scripture from heart and memory. They don't need it in front of them. They can just call up the right scripture and even cite the verse. They're true believers. We must support them. We must get them to office. That's what happened with Roy Moore. That's what's happening with Mark Robinson. And Republicans in North Carolina are today working furiously to force him out of the race. Today is the last day before more scandal hits. And he's down 10 points. He's down, and my goodness, he's going to lose the race. And when you're down 10 points in a gubernatorial race in a swing state, you can potentially hurt the candidate at the top of the ballot, Donald Trump. Haley Barbour, the former governor of Mississippi, before he was governor of Mississippi, Haley Barbour was the chairman of the Republican National Committee. Now, I have many differences with Haley Barbour, but Haley Barbour was the best and most competent chairman of the Republican National Committee I think we've ever had. And Haley Barbour had a rule: if you want to win a state, you need to win the governor's mansion, because governors build ground games to get themselves reelected, and they can be deployed for presidential elections. North Carolina has had a Democratic governor for over 30 years, but with few exceptions, Pratt McCrory being one of them. They've tended to go with Democratic governors because the evangelicals in North Carolina have oftentimes nominated people to be the Republican governor who turn out to be nuts or scandal-plagued. McCrory was an exception. And McCrory was running to be governor again, but he wasn't sufficiently loyal to Donald Trump, and Mark Robinson did all the performative leg humping he needed to do to ensure an early endorsement from Trump, even despite competent people like, for example, Mark Walker, who was a member of Congress, who was a pastor, who was able to win great districts and had a major base of support. But Robinson was the guy because he hated gay marriage. He loved Jesus. He loved Donald Trump. And now it could turn that state into a super swingy state that risks Donald Trump's election. This is like Carrie Lake is another example of this, although she's not the evangelical. She's just the Trump one. She did every performative, embarrassing clown trick known to man to hump Donald Trump's leg and got his endorsement, and the crowd loved her, and she's going to hand that seat to the Democrats. That is a winnable seat. The Arizona Senate seat is winnable. Now, Carrie Lake, it's not in her character to be able to say Jesus with 5 syllables like those of us who are evangelicals in the South can say, but she decided to dance around the stage, wave the MAGA flag, do the secret handshake, buy the secret Dakota ring, and everything else to prove she was sufficiently loyal to Donald Trump. And it shut everybody else out of the race because the Trump supporters aren't really Republicans, they're Trump supporters. And this is something the Republican Party has to deal with. And these voters they're like evangelicals. When someone says Jesus, they lose their ability to discern, and they go with the person with the secret Dakota ring who knows the secret handshake and does the performative leg hump and said, they're one of us, we must endorse them. And sometimes they're not good candidates. Republicans, for some reason, have just lost their ability to discern good candidates. They're looking for virtue signaling. A buddy of mine sent me a picture from his neighborhood. He lives in a very progressive neighborhood in Atlanta, and he's the closet conservative. This yard has a flag. It says December 7, 1941, September 11, 2001, January 6, 2021. Never forget. Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and the storming of the Capitol on January 6th. That is the most virtue signal flag I think I've ever seen in someone's yard. Both sides love the virtue signaling. It's going to cost Republicans the governor's mansion in North Carolina. It's going to cost the Republicans the Senate seat in Arizona. It cost them a Senate seat in Alabama because Republican voters lacked discernment. They went with endorsements from people who did performative genuflecting to Donald Trump, said they loved Jesus and babies, got nominations, and turned out to be terrible candidates. So right now, if you're just tuning in, Mark Robinson, the Republican gubernatorial candidate in North Carolina, has canceled all events today. He was supposed to do an event with J.D. Vance. That has now been canceled. You know, he was a featured speaker at the Republican National Convention in July. And everything is beginning to collapse. Senator Ted Budd has just told reporters that the allegations against Mark Robinson, if true, are concerning. He doesn't clarify what the allegations are about amidst rumors of a very damaging incoming story that is apparently attributed to CNN. Friends in the Republican Party, there are a lot of Republicans in North Carolina who warned you that if Mark Robinson were to be the nominee, this would be a problem, but no one wanted to listen because he spoke MAGA and was a true believer, and he said Jesus with 5 syllables. Interestingly enough, one of the people who advanced him and said that he would be a great candidate Michael Whatley, who's now the chairman of the Republican National Committee. What is most notable to me is that all the major national Republicans who promoted Mark Robinson's candidacy in the primary abandoned him the moment he became the nominee. And now North Carolina may hand everything to the Democrats because of this unless they can get him out of the race today. Discernment matters greatly.
Hey, it's Emma Chamberlain. I designed these new glasses for Warby Parker, and I basically can't take them off. Like, I'm showering in them and sleeping in them. They're just that good. Go see them all at warbyparker.com. And you know what? Have a good day, too. Okay? All right? Bye.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425 to Montgomery, Alabama. Chad, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, good to talk to you again, Eric. How are you doing today?
Great. Always good to hear from you.
Hey, just want to hit real quick the earlier first hour comments from Janet Yellen about employing illegals and how we need to keep them here, right? Mm-hmm. So, as you know, for a living, I'm a labor and employment lawyer. Our clients spend tens of thousands of dollars complying with immigration regulations every year. You know, you can't hire you cannot hire an illegal worker to work in your facility unless you've got an I-9 done, you've verified them to show that they're properly in the country. You can't do it. And if you do it, then ICE can come in there and bust you, and you could pay some huge fines. And, you know, you live in Georgia. You've seen how many times they've hit the chicken processing plants there.
Yep.
You know, and they hit other areas too, like, nurseries and so forth. But, I mean, there are now companies, for example, Walmart. If you're doing business with Walmart and you're a supplier with them, you have to jump through an incredible number of hoops. They use a European plan that requires you to have all sorts of requirements for guaranteeing that you're not hiring illegal workers or abusing them in any way. And if you don't meet their audit requirements, you don't get to be a Walmart vendor. And not only does that extend to me as a Walmart vendor, but anybody in the supply chain that I use. So I have to have my clients enter into contracts with their contractors, making sure that their contractors are following all the federal immigration laws. It is very complicated. And for Janet Yellen to come on, you know, and just say, oh, well, you know, we just got to have them around. Hey, Janet, it's illegal.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we lawyers, we labor and employment lawyers, this is what we spend our time on a daily basis. I can't tell you how many times I get a call from a client saying, can you check these documents and see if they satisfy the I-9 requirements? Because if they don't, I can't hire this person.
Chad,
right?
Look,
now,
I'm afraid I got to cut you off there because I
sure.
got to go. But that's so well said. And yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm kicking myself that I didn't make that point earlier. So I'm glad you called. Now, I got to tell you guys about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm before we have the hard break and the computer throws me off the air. You can get 3 of them and you can save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. Now, and the discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. Now, here's the point. Here's the point. I literally was in a super fancy hotel the other week, and like 5-star hotel, and the people in the room next to me started smoking weed, and I don't know why potheads think they can smoke in hotels, but it started bleeding in my room. I got a towel, rolled it up, got it wet, put it on the door, blind smell, but my room stunk. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm is so small I can hold it in my hand, and I always keep one in my travel bag. Fired it up, it got rid of the smoke odors. It wipes out every imaginable odor: dirty diaper odors, smoke odors, litter box odors, frying odors, musty odors. Get 3 of them, save $200. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. You can get them from your house, your RV, your travel bag, wherever you need them. EdenPureDeals.com. ERIC3 is the discount code.
With Lululemon, the real gift happens when they're living in it. When you give them the coziest scuba matching set, the real gift is this. And this. And this. This holiday, Lululemon makes it easy to give a gift that goes beyond. Open the moment. Shop now at Lululemon.com.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Hang on one second. Eric Robinson scandal is blowing up. Okay. All right. I need to talk about what I intended to talk about in this hour till the breaking news of Mark Robinson. By the way, the North Carolina Board of Elections says that if Robinson departs the race by 11:59 p.m. today, the Republicans will be able to name a replacement candidate. So that's what you need to know. I got to tell you about this, well, New York Times story first, because it's hilarious, and I clearly did not actually link to the right story. So let me find the story, because it was pretty hilarious. They're worried about the cost of cows to the environment. That's right. This is their piece today. Here's the hidden environmental costs of food. Let me just begin by reading for you. Say a pound of beef costs $5.34 at your local supermarket. That price, according to researchers, leaves out something important: beef's heavy environmental toll. Add in things like deforestation and water use, they say, and the price of ground beef would be a lot higher. The damage to the natural world isn't factored into the price of food, but some governments are experimenting with a new way of exposing the larger costs of what we eat. As pricey as a run to the grocery store has become, our grocery bills would be considerably more expensive if environmental costs were included. The loss of species as cropland takes over habitat, groundwater depletion, greenhouse gases from manure and farm equipment. For years, economists have been developing a system of true cost accounting based on a growing body of evidence that the environmental damage caused by different types of agriculture. Now emerging research aims to translate the damage to the planet into dollar figures. By displaying the so-called true prices, sometimes next to retail prices, researchers hope to nudge consumers to factor in the environmental toll of food. Naturally, this is coming from Europe. The proponents of true cost accounting don't propose raising food prices across the board, but they say that increased awareness could change behavior. Oh, you know they want it raised. You know they want a tax. True Price, a Dutch nonprofit group that has pioneered true cost accounting alongside the United Nations and the Rockefeller Foundation to provide a window into some of their research. We asked them about it. They came up with a data set that compared the estimated environmental costs of common foods produced in the United States, divided into three categories: climate change caused by greenhouse gas emissions, water usage, and ecosystem effects from land use, including loss of biodiversity. These costs are going to be paid, says Claire Vanderbroek, managing director at True Price. They're paid in the healthcare system, in climate adaptation mechanisms, and those will come back in taxes. It's not like these costs are fictional. We ran True Price's methodology by other experts, you know, who found it to be generally sound, if sometimes vague. As higher quality data becomes available, they said, the efforts to quantify the environmental impact of food should improve. Alexander Mueller, founder of the TMG think tank for sustainability in Berlin, has worked with True Price. While we believe it has some shortcomings, their methodology is among the best available given our knowledge. They want you to know. So here's what they say. This is what they actually say. Your retail price for a pound of ground chuck is $5.34. Emissions from cow burps should add $3 to it. Water use, including to grow the food to feed the cows, should add 23 cents to it. The ecosystem effects from the land used to grow food for the cows and the land used to allow them to graze, $18.79. So the actual price of your ground beef should be $27.36. What about cheese? Retail price for your block of cheddar, $3.74. But the emissions From the dairy machinery, the cow burps and manure should add $1.04. The water that the cows drink that's used for growing their food should add 49 cents. And the ecosystem effects from the land use for the cattle feed production and grazing, $2.23. So your block of cheese should actually be $7.50. Even tofu has an environmental effect. Chickpeas, however, their environmental effect is only about 74 cents. In other words, you should become a vegetarian. Now, let's tie that to this thread from Ashish Joshi. He's a PhD candidate and focusing on climate adaptation. He also has the Palestinian flag in his bio. He is working in the Netherlands. He's an environmentalist, has a watermelon in his picture in his bio. Remember, watermelons, they're communists. Environmentalists, communists, green on the outside, red in the middle. He writes, I urge degrowth and other climate action researchers to keep in mind that all extraction adds damages to people and ecosystems everywhere and challenge them to rise above techno-modernist ideology to envision radical alternatives. Before advocating for each household to have appliances and gadgets that have only proliferated, please think of how we could greatly reduce our dependence on technologies. Here's how 2 low-tech alternatives for the basic tasks of washing and cooking. Washing clothes by hands is a chore, oftentimes a lonely one, but it needn't be. We could have communal washing facilities in each neighborhood where people can plan to come in groups to do their laundry together. This guy's serious, by the way. He's serious. He wants you to give up your washer and dryer and go do your laundry by hand in a commune. If you do it in a commune situation, you can have a chat with anyone who's there washing their clothes. Of course, those who prefer to do it at home are free to do so. Washing clothes by hand is tiring work, but it's physical activity and exercise. They could save money on gym memberships by doing their laundry at home. When it comes to preparing and consuming food, communal kitchens would eliminate the need to have refrigerators, stoves, ovens, or other kitchen appliances in each home. They would reduce the consumption of materials and energy and also food waste by a lot. So in other words, you want your late night snack? Now you got to put your clothes on and walk down the street in the middle of the night to the communal refrigerator and get your food out of there and hope Sheila from up the block hasn't eaten your block of cheese in the middle of the night with her pregnancy cravings. This is what they're advocating. He writes, there are so many simple ideas we can implement before giving in to extractive, colonialist, and ecocidal techno-modernist approaches. Of course, they require a radical reorganization of our societies and a shift to values, especially from individualism to collectivism. We'd also be wise to start preparing for a time likely within our lifetimes when we or many in the world will not have reliable electricity or devices they run. A world of disrupted supply chain and manufacturing, damaged infrastructure, and radically different priorities. This is an important point because many or most researchers haven't realized, or they've been ignoring, our reliance on modern technologies is eroding our resilience. I guess they're planning on blowing up the power plants, getting rid of them or something. This is Malthusianism and Marxism combined. We need less people, and they need to be communist. That's this guy. So think about where the environmentalists are heading. Your cows, your beef needs to be taxed by $20. So your 5-pound pack of ground chuck becomes $25 to punish you for not becoming a vegetarian. They say, no, we just want to educate you. But whenever the left says we just want to educate you about something, they want to make it mandatory and force the cost on you. That's what they want to do. And then this guy comes along and says, you know what, we need to get people to stop having kitchens and stuff. So there's this neighborhood outside of Atlanta called Serenbe. It's actually very nice. It's becoming much more crowded. The area is designed into little hamlets. Buddy of mine is building a house out there in one of the neighborhoods. They have for air conditioning in this neighborhood, you're not allowed to have like the outdoor HVAC systems and the fans. So they run a pipe system, goes deep down into the ground, and supposedly can keep the house cool even in when it gets really hot. It circulates some sort of liquid underground that cools, and it runs through the house, and they have a fan system, but not like your noisy ACs. This little neighborhood is very, very deeply quiet. The bedrooms are all very small, because even like the king-size beds, you can barely fit them in some of them. They're very, very small bedrooms because they want people to be outside. All the homes are connected to nature. It's actually kind of a cool concept if you're into that sort of stuff. They designed the garages to be small so that you can't have big SUVs. They encourage electric cars. All the houses have charging stations. In fact, they designed the garages to back up so close to the house that it discourages. It's impossible to have a big vehicle given the setup. It's for people like this sort of thing. Listen, it's your choice. It's a beautiful neighborhood. It's very, very quiet without the outdoor ACs going and stuff. You can hear the nature. You're right up on the trails. It's not my sort of thing. I want a big bedroom. But can you imagine that sort of concept? But now there's no kitchen. You got to walk down the street to cook your food. You know what's going to happen is it's actually going to increase emissions because of all the people ordering DoorDash and Uber Eats, because they're not going to walk down the street in the rain to cook. They're just going to call DoorDash. So you're actually going to see an increase in the emissions. The idea that people are going to go communally wash their laundry together, we have that now. It's called laundromats. It's for poor people and college students. What's going to happen is that the rich are going to keep their lifestyle and force through government regulation everyone else to give up theirs. And that's going to build even greater populist backlash. All these progressives who are appalled at the rise of populism, all they're doing is fostering more of it with their detachment from society. It's just wild to watch the eco-warriors out there be that clueless, the true believers imposing their will on everyone else through government regulation. And you know, Kamala Harris wants to do that. Pete Buttigieg was on television trying to defend the Biden record on CNBC, and they pointed out the lack of charging stations in America despite this massive push. Listen to Buttigieg.
Under the Inflation Reduction Act, $7.5 billion for building these charging stations. The latest information, 8 have been built with the $7.5 billion that had been allocated. You're supposed to get to 500,000 of these charging stations by 2030. What is really the problem with? Have you looked at that and figured out why?
Oh yeah, no, that's on track. So we're at about 190,000 publicly available charging stations in the U.S. That's approximately double what the level was when President Biden came in. The issue, though, is that there are some gaps in the market, ones that are just not going to be built by the private sector that's been building the construction of those chargers to date. That's why the legislation provided for funding to do federally supported chargers that are intended to be online before 2030.
Don't you love that he's playing a 3-card Monte there? We got 100-some-odd thousand, but only 7 have been built with the inflation. The rest were private sector. The private sector did it more quickly and efficiently. The government has spent $40 billion to get 7 chargers. It's what the environmentalists want. Deep inefficiencies, wrecking the economy along the way. You know, banks out there are they're having trouble too. Old Glory Bank, though, is not. It's growing. It's by conservatives, for conservatives. Old Glory Bank literally is my bank of record. I have my checking account there. I have my savings account there. And I love doing business with them because, one, I know I never have to worry about some progressive trying to cancel my bank account. I know that I can use my debit card tomorrow. If I want to go up to my buddies at True Precision and buy a gun from them, I can use my debit card. And the bank is not going to tell me, that's a gun. You're not allowed to buy it, because Old Glory Bank, they're conservatives. They believe in free speech. They believe in the Second Amendment. I've got a friend of mine who runs a gun operation, and he's moving his bank account to him because he knows they're not going to cancel him like the very big national bank decided to do because he's a gun operator. They're for conservatives. They're by conservatives. They operate a bank that's headquartered out of Oklahoma. They've turned it into an online nationwide bank. They have no fee checking. They have no fee savings. You develop a relationship with them even though they're online. You can do mortgages. You can do loans, auto loans, you name it. They'll take care of you. Old Glory Bank, they are my bank. They can be your bank as well. Remember FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply. By the way, if your kid needs a checking account, even though it's online, you can deposit cash at the bank. So if your kid needs a safe place to put their money instead of under the bed or in a jar, oldglorybank.com. You can get a custodial account for your kid, no fee checking, no fee savings for your kid. Oldglorybank.com. Again, member FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply. Hello, my friends. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. I got some other news to bring you up to speed on. The Department of Justice has indicted an Alaskan resident named Panos Anastasiou for making over 400 violent threats against 6 Supreme Court justices. They don't say which 6 justices. I wonder which 6. The indictment doesn't say, but according to FEC records, he made 82 donations to Act Blue, which is the left-wing online fundraising portal, the latest of which was July 25th. Also, the guy who wanted to kill Donald Trump was an Act Blue donor as well. And yet they want to continue to tell us about how the right wing is violent. It's the right that's violent. It's not the left. They're just lovable, harmless fuzzballs on the left. It's the right we need to be worried about. Sure doesn't seem to be the case these days. It sure seems like the progressive left in this country continues to grow more and more violent. Floyd Lee Corkins wants to shoot up the Family Research Center. He's a counsel. He's an MSNBC watcher. James Hodgkinson wants to mass assassinate Republican members of Congress. He's an MSNBC viewer. You got the 2 different people who one did and one wanted to take shots at Donald Trump. One, they claim they don't know his motive. They're both crazy. I mean, these are all crazy people, but they're crazy on the left. We know the latest guy who wanted to kill Donald Trump really was feeding off the left-wing attacks on Donald Trump as a threat to democracy and the like, all the Democratic rhetoric. And the Democrats are like, hey, he's getting what he deserves. He is a threat to democracy. And so naturally people are freaked out, and it's him that's doing it to himself. It's not us. It's not us. By the way, if we don't stop him, the country is destroyed, and he's the second coming of Hitler. But don't blame us. Don't blame us. It's him, not us. I mean, that's what they're doing here. As it becomes more and more obvious, there is not this mass assassination group on the right going out and trying to shoot up the left. Here's the thing, though. I can see it coming. Some crazy, insane person on the right is going to look at this and say, we've had 2 people try to take out Donald Trump. We've had James Hodgkinson. We've had Floyd Lee Corkins. We've had all these other crazy, insane leftists. You know what? I'm going to go mete out justice for the right. Insane person. When that happens, the media is going to overwhelmingly blame Republicans for it, overwhelmingly blame Republican rhetoric for it. They'll never hold their own side accountable. It's like this ProPublica story where the media seeded the lies about Georgia's abortion law. A woman believed the lies that the AJC and CNN and everyone else reported, and she didn't get help and she died, and it's the Republicans' fault. It's always the Republicans' fault. That's why so many people no longer care anything about what the media says, but that's also why so many grifters on the right can take advantage of it since you don't believe the accountability of the media anymore. It's a dangerous game we're playing here.